Was my life worthwhile?
Everything in life is worthwhile.
I think it's time to recognise a new genre. It's called Oh Japan. And I think you're all well aware of the games I'm talking about when I say that. You've probably used that phrase yourself. A sexy cheerleader killing zombies with a chainsaw while wearing basically nothing. Oh, Japan. A game about a guy whose middle name is motherfucking and who uses a gun called the Big Boner. Oh, Japan. A game where you go into a school with a gun that shoots orgasms and treat the place like a shooting range. Oh, Japan. There's just one thing that all these games have in common. They're utterly incomprehensible to my Western sensibilities. It's not exactly a recipe for strong sales in the European and American markets, but at the same time I think that's part of the charm. A bit of a look at the world through the lens of another culture. I'd be willing to bet that a large part of why people in Europe buy these games is because they're Japanese and weird, not in spite of it. It's a bit like how foreign horror is so effective on Western audiences. Horror is so much about the other and about morality that changing that other to something that doesn't even make sense to our own cultural outlook is deeply unsettling at a base level. Adding to that fact that horror is about setting up classic morality tales, i.e. don't tell lies or the boogeyman will get you, to change the definition of morality fucks with us even more. I mean seriously, in Ringu, what was so wrong about watching that videotape that it meant you had to get murdered for it? There's an element of comedy to these ideas too. I spend most of my time with these games only having the vaguest of ideas about what the hell is going on. These games that often have lengthy verbal exposition dumps to explain the story, and still, it goes right over my head, but I love it. Today we'll be talking about a very strange Japanese game called Killer is Dead. But Killer is Dead isn't just weird because it's Japanese. It's weird because it's made by professional mental case Suda51, a man whose stories are likely as baffling to his own countrymen as they are to me. Killer is Dead tells the story of Mondo Zappa, an assassin who does part-time work as a male prostitute, I think, and comes from the moon. And his name sounds like it was stolen from an AOL chat room circa 1998. As a premise, it's nothing if not unique. Killer is Dead is a difficult game to summarise properly. Mondo takes on assassination contracts that make up the main story missions, with little side stories to work your way through as well. But when Mondo's not too busy slamming evil beings, he's busy with his other job. I never knew being a gigolo was such a hassle. Forget the idea of being paid just to have sex with someone. Mondo has to buy gifts and gently seduce his clients by waiting until they're not looking and using his X-ray specs to gaze at their half-naked forms. This is a 13-year-old boy's idea of romance. Although now think about it, it's many grown men's idea of romance, but regardless, it's a fucking bizarre place to find yourself. In Killer's Dead you will literally go from having a thrilling sword fight with an 8-foot tall half-naked man, to giving sexy ladies scented chewing gum in return for sex they already presumably paid you for. But that's the thing, it's confusing and quirky and, in a way I'm almost ashamed to say, it works. It says some revealing things about the way Mr. 51 perceives women and gigolos, but as a distracting minigame it's inoffensive. It manages to be less tone deaf than the jiggling boobies of Metal Gear Solid 4, at least it fits in with the overall tone of the game in this case. The meat of Killer is Dead is in Mondo's full-time job, people killing, or killer killing. Mondo is equipped with a great big sword, a gun arm and the ability to shift into an alternate, pain-based dimension when he nails a dodge to hammer on his attackers for a few seconds. As you play, you unlock new abilities and perks, and a longer basic combo, which is the element that fixes much of the combat's clunkiness. The gigolo missions also factor into this combat, because Mondo only takes payment for his whoring and robot arms. Bed a lovely lady and she'll give you a brand new limb that you can use to brutalise your enemies. When I say killer, I actually mean bondage freaks. The enemies in Killer is Dead will either creep you out or reveal a few unknown kinks. It's all naked dudes wearing weird metal compositions that only just cover their danglies. That is in the interest of equality though, as there is no shortage of titties hanging out all over the place. Even outside of the gigolo missions, where you stare at sexy women in return for presents, the ladies of Killer is Dead are not shy. And if you feel like they're dressed too conservatively still, you can hop into the costume menu and remove all those troublesome layers. For a joke, obviously. If you can't handle the beefcake and the crown and codpiece, then get out of the kitchen. These freakishly dressed maniacs are beautifully rendered though, and that might be where the biggest reason to qualify Killer is Dead as a gem comes from. Killer is Dead is beautiful! I know they say that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but fuck you, this game is lovely. Once again we see how using an abstract art style can protect your game against aging, because Killer is Dead looks as good today as it did in 2013. Characters are either cartoonishly chunky or cartoonishly skinny, except for the women who are all cartoonishly sexy, and are rendered in this bizarro visual style that reminds me of the days of VHS tapes. Characters and environments are bombastic and colourful, and are a joy to both navigate and kick the shit out of. Watching the world transform when Mondo nails a dodge counter is gorgeous. Killer is Dead is not a perfect game. It starts off frustrating and poorly explained and expects a lot from you to move on past that. For one of those incomprehensible Japanese games, that might be a bit of a stretch for most players. But if you push through past the slow combat, you'll find a gorgeous game with a suitably mental story. If you're looking for a bit of what the fuck, then Killer is Dead will give it to you. If you're looking for some eye candy, then it fits the bill for that too. It doesn't quite stand up to the quality of previous Suda51 games. It's not Killer 7, it's not No More Heroes, but it's definitely worth picking up if you like petty things like fun.